Imagine you're at home, right? Just enjoying that first cup of coffee, and bam, it hits you. You've only got minutes left to live. What would you do? I mean, really, what would be your priority? What final acts of love would you try to squeeze in? That's the kind of chilling scenario we're diving into today. With this excerpt from David McCloskey's new spy thriller, The Seventh Floor.
Yeah, it's a powerful hook, that's for sure. And McCloskey, he uses it to draw us in, not just to the world of espionage, but also into this really personal story about choices and sacrifice and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking about some abstract idea of a spy, right?
Yeah.
We're like right there with this character, the Russian, watching him go about his morning, just a normal morning in his Moscow home, knowing that his world is about to come crashing down.
And what's really interesting is that even with that danger hanging over him, he's still so clearly a family man. We see him with his little daughter, Alona, and it's just so tender, and it creates this really stark contrast between the warmth of family life and that cold reality of being a double agent.
And that's what makes this excerpt so powerful.
Right.
It humanizes the spy. It makes us think about the personal cost of living a life surrounded by secrets and danger.
Exactly. And McCloskey, he doesn't let us forget about that danger, not even for a second. Two unmarked cars pull up to the Russian's house, and he knows instantly, just from something about the car wash, that they're from the Lubyanka, the infamous KGB headquarters. Can you imagine?
The Lubyanka. Oh,
Oh.
man. Just hearing that name gives me chills. It's like synonymous with that whole Soviet era, the repression, the brutality of espionage.
Yeah, it's like the symbol of state power, and you know what lengths they'll go to protect their secrets.
So knowing what the Lubyanka means makes the Russians' decision to stay, to not even try to run all the more powerful. He knows there's no escaping this, so he just focuses on protecting his family and whatever time he has left.
And that's where you really see the meticulous planning of someone who spent his life thinking about contingencies. He starts writing these letters to his wife and daughter, carefully crafted messages meant to guide them, support them, even after he's gone. It's heartbreaking, but it also shows you how much he loved them.
He's almost like a man trying to control the uncontrollable, to leave some kind of order in a world that's about to descend into chaos.
Yeah, there's this almost frantic energy to his writing, like he's trying to pack years of love and wisdom into these letters. He even tells his daughter to open them on specific birthdays. It's like he wants to make sure his presence is still felt in her life.
The tension just keeps building with every detail McCloskey gives us. His wife Vera mentions Athens. Maybe it was a previous mission. But the Russian keeps his secrets close, tries to keep things normal for those last moments they have together.
It's like this dance between honesty and deception, and it really highlights the weight of that double life he's been leading.
For sure. And then it happens. The Russian, knowing what's coming, takes his own life. He uses a cyanide-laced Mont Blanc pen. It's this act of defiance, a final grasp at control in a situation that's completely spiraled out of his hands.
His suicide. This is a powerful statement, don't you think? He chooses his own end rather than being captured, rather than facing who knows what at the Lubyanka.
It's a bold choice.
Yeah.
And it leaves us with so many questions. What was he protecting? Why was his death necessary? What's going to happen to his family now?
And those questions linger because McCloskey, he doesn't give us easy answers. It's like he's mirroring the ambiguity of real-life espionage, where motives and consequences, they're often hidden. We're left to grapple with those unanswered questions, just
Sure.
like the characters themselves.
And that's what makes this excerpt so good. It pulls us into the story,
Yeah.
but it also pulls us into this murky world of espionage. And it definitely leaves us wanting more.
Yeah, it's that lack of answers that really gets you thinking. You start to think about the choices these real-life spies have to make, the things they carry with them.
It makes you wonder, right? Like, is there a certain kind of person who's drawn to this life? What kind of personality can handle all that pressure, that constant back and forth between truth and lies?
Well, that's a question that's fascinated people for years. Psychologists, historians, you name it. There's no easy answer, of course. Some people are drawn to the excitement, the adrenaline of living on the edge.
Right, like those classic movie spies. Always one step ahead. Gadgets, charm, the whole nine yards. But I don't know, it can't just be the glamour, can it?
No, not at all. A lot of them are motivated by patriotism, a belief that they're serving a greater purpose, protecting their country from threats that most people don't even know exist. Like during the Cold War, for example. That ideological struggle fueled so much of the espionage activity back then.
And that's where things get tricky, right? The lines get blurry.
Mm-hmm.
Betraying your country, even if you think it's for the greater good, That's got to be a heavy burden to carry.
Exactly. And McCloskey doesn't shy away from that. You can really feel the Russian's internal struggle. He clearly loves his family, but his choices put them in danger.
There's this line from the excerpt that really stuck with me. He regretted everything and nothing. It's like it perfectly captures that feeling of being torn in two different directions.
Right. It speaks to the sacrifices that come with this line of work, not just the physical danger, but the emotional toll it takes on the individual, on their loved ones, the isolation, the fact that you can't really trust anyone.
And in the Russian's case, the ultimate price, his own life. But even in death, he's still trying to protect his family. Those letters he wrote so carefully, they're more than just instructions. They're an act of love.
Absolutely. It shows that even in this secret world, human emotions still matter. Love, fear, guilt, the need to connect with others, those things go beyond ideology and national borders.
It's so easy to think of espionage as this cold, calculated game. But this excerpt, it reminds us that it's really a human story, with real, often painful consequences. I mean, why should we, the listeners, care about this fictional Russian spy?
Because it makes us think about some uncomfortable truths about the world. Espionage might be hidden, but it's a world that exists. It affects all of us, even if we don't realize it.
And it reminds us that the people involved, they're not just pawns in some game. They're human beings with their own reasons for doing things, their own loves and fears, just like us.
And sometimes they're forced into impossible situations. Choices with terrible consequences. The Russian story is like a reminder that freedom, security, even love, they often come at a price. And sometimes that price is paid in blood.
You know, as we've been talking about this excerpt and the bigger picture, there's this one thing that keeps bugging me. The Russian, he keeps calling his daughter Mike Libnica. It feels important, but I just can't figure out why.
That's an interesting point. It's probably a code name. A way for him to separate his two lives. You know? Almost like he's trying to protect her identity, even in his own mind.
It's kind of sad, isn't it? This man, he's facing death, and he's still desperately trying to shield his daughter from all that darkness. There's that line where he yells at the KGB agents, "My daughter is here, you animals." It's like this desperate plea, like he's hoping they might actually have some humanity left.
Which, of course, they don't. They represent that brutal side of the world. The side that the Russian has been a part of for so long. There's no room for feelings in their line of work, no compassion.
It's a scary thought. In that world of secrets and lies, the stakes are incredibly high. Lives don't matter. Betrayal is always around the corner. And trust. It's a fragile thing.
And that fear of betrayal, that constant suspicion, it wears you down. Imagine living with that every day. No wonder the Russian felt like he had to create those barriers, even with his own daughter.
But even with all that, you can still see how much he loves her. His worry for her future, how carefully he planned those letters. It's all because he's her father. He wants to protect her, even when he's gone.
It really shows you the power of human connection, huh? Even in the darkest places. Even when you're faced with impossible choices, love can still be there.
It makes you think that stories like The Seventh Floor, yeah, they're set in this world of spies and intrigue, but they're really about something much bigger. They're about the choices we make, the sacrifices we face, the strength of human relationships.
Exactly. And this excerpt, it gives us this glimpse into one man's life, but it makes us think about our own values, you know, what we believe in, how we define loyalty and sacrifice. What would we be willing to give up for the people we love? What lines would we cross?
Those are the questions that stick with you, even after you're done reading. And that's what makes a story really powerful. It's not just about entertainment. It's about making you think, challenging your point of view, leaving you with that sense of wonder and a desire to learn more.
You know, if our listeners want to explore those questions more, to really dig deeper into the world McCloskey has created, I definitely recommend checking out The Seventh Floor. It's a great read, the kind that stays with you long after you finish it.
Couldn't agree more. And we hope this deep dive is giving you something to think about, sparks your curiosity, to learn more about espionage, about human nature, about the choices we make when life throws us a curveball. So until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions, and keep diving deep